3 years ago, I stood in the center of my parents' grand living room, the marble floors gleaming beneath my heels, my freshly framed Stanford MBA tucked under one arm like a forgotten trophy. My father's voice thundered through the space, with a finality that stung deeper than I was willing to show. No daughter of mine is going to waste her life on some ridiculous tech startup, he barked, his face flushed with fury. Either you join Mitchell and Sons Consulting as planned, or you get out. My mother stood by the fireplace, her perfectly manicured hands twisting the pearls around her neck, her nervous tell. Listen to your father, Olivia. He knows what's best. The firm has a clear 10-year partner track for you. Think of your future. I squared my shoulders. I don't want the partner track, Mom. I want to build something of my own. I've developed an AI platform that could transform how businesses operate. AI, Dad scoffed. You want to throw away a secure legacy to play with computers? He turned to gesture toward the wall, where a photograph of my older brother David smiled down at us, him shaking hands with a Fortune 100 CEO at his promotion to junior partner. David made partner in 7 years, Dad snapped. He understands family loyalty. He didn't come back from Stanford with dreams of robots replacing executives. I felt my jaw tighten. David, the golden child, the one who followed every plan my father mapped out, never challenging anything, never dreaming bigger than the office he was told to occupy. My platform works, I said, trying to stay calm. The prototype is already producing incredible results. If you just look at the projections. Dad slammed his fist against the mahogany desk so hard the framed photo rattled. You either join Mitchell and Sons, or you walk away from everything. That means the trust fund, our name, my network, all of it. I looked at my mother, searching for something, some flicker of support, but she didn't meet my eyes. She never did when it came to Dad's decisions. My throat burned. Fine, I said, lifting my chin. Keep your money, keep your legacy. I'll build my own. Then get out, Dad growled. And don't come back. As of this moment, you are no longer part of this family. Richard, please. My mother whispered, but he silenced her with a glance. She looked away. So I left. No trust fund, no contacts, no job, just my degree, my laptop, and a quiet fire inside me that had just been fanned into an inferno. That night, I slept on my best friend Sarah's couch, eating leftover Thai food and staring at my laptop screen until my AI algorithm, Arya Advanced Resource Yield algorithm, was still raw but brilliant. And that night, I used the last paycheck from my summer internship to incorporate a company, Phoenix Industries. The name was no accident. The first year nearly broke me. I rented a cramped desk in a shared workspace, lived off instant ramen, and worked 18-hour days writing code until my fingers ached. I pitched investors, tweaked Arya, cried into my keyboard, then got back to work. While my family deleted my number and scrubbed me from family group chats, I built, quietly, relentlessly. What they didn't know, what no one knew, was that, while at Stanford, I'd made strategic connections, professors, innovators, venture capitalists intrigued by what I was building. By month 5, I had a seed round. By month 12, Series A. Phoenix was no longer just an idea, it was a functioning company with real clients. By year 2, we'd signed our first Fortune 500 client. Arya wasn't just another automation tool. It learned, it adapted, it made supply chains smarter, HR teams leaner, customer service more precise. Mid-sized businesses were saving millions in operational costs, and they were talking. I kept my identity hidden. On every press release and public document, the CEO was listed as Oja Mitchell, gender-neutral initials, no photos, no interviews. I preferred it that way. Let the tech speak for itself. I watched the business world whisper about the mysterious CEO behind the fastest scaling AI platform in the country. Some thought I was a retired tech executive. Others guessed I was European. No one guessed I was the disowned daughter of Richard Mitchell. Until one morning, 3 years after I walked out of my father's house, my assistant Michael walked into my penthouse office holding a tablet. You need to see this, he said, setting it gently on my desk. I looked down. A headline stared back at me. Mitchell and Sons announces $2 billion partnership with Global Dynamics. I smiled, because I knew something they didn't. They're insisting on using Arya for the full integration, Michael said, his tone equal parts impressed and amused. Global Dynamics won't proceed without Phoenix Industries, and do Mitchell and Sons know that yet? He shook his head. They're expecting to meet the CEO of Phoenix tomorrow. I leaned back in my chair, letting the moment wash over me. Michael, I said slowly, clear my schedule for tomorrow morning. Make sure the contracts are ready. I'll sign them myself. He nodded, already knowing what I meant. It's time, I said, standing and walking to the floor to ceiling windows. The skyline glittered beneath the morning sun. Time for a family reunion. The next morning, the black car pulled up to the curb of a building that once felt like home turf. Mitchell and Sons Consulting, the pride of my father's empire. A name carved into the stone facade in gleaming silver letters, but behind it, I knew the foundation was already cracking. I stepped out of the car in a tailored black Armani suit with subtle crimson accents, the color of Phoenix Industries. My heels echoed across the polished floors of the marble lobby like a countdown. At my side, Michael carried the slim briefcase containing the contracts that would tip the scales of this billion-dollar deal. As we approached the front desk, a familiar face looked up. Claire, the receptionist, blinked twice before she spoke. Welcome to Mitchell and Sons. You must be with Phoenix Industries? I gave her a small smile. Yes, they're expecting me. She nodded, then pressed the intercom. Mr. Mitchell, the CEO of Phoenix Industries is here. There was a brief pause. Send them in. My father's voice boomed through the speaker, firm and expectant. That same commanding tone I'd grown up with, now tinged with eagerness. He still didn't know. Michael pushed open the glass doors to the executive boardroom. There they were. My father, Richard Mitchell, seated at the head of the table in his classic navy suit. David, polished and smug, right by his side. Around them, the usual court of senior partners and executives. On the other side of the table sat the Global Dynamics delegation led by their sharp-eyed CEO, Angela Chin. All eyes turned as I entered. For a moment, the room froze. Dad's confident smile faltered, then vanished completely. David's face went slack with disbelief. One by one, the others recognized me, some shifting uncomfortably, others visibly stunned. Olivia, my father said, his voice caught between confusion and anger. What are you doing here? I stepped smoothly to the seat at the opposite end of the table, the one reserved for the Phoenix Industries CEO. You were expecting the CEO of Phoenix Industries, I said, placing my briefcase gently beside my chair. Well, here I am. David actually laughed, short and nervous. No, that's not possible. Oja, Mitchell is Olivia Jane Mitchell, I said clearly, locking eyes with him. Founder and CEO of Phoenix Industries, creator of the Arya platform. Angela Chin raised an eyebrow, an amused smile playing at the corners of her mouth. Well, this is unexpected. I inclined my head politely. Shall we begin? My father still hadn't recovered. This is a joke. You can't be. I can, and I am. I interrupted coolly. I turned to Michael. Distribute the terms, please. He opened the briefcase and began handing out neatly bound folders. As you'll see, the success of this partnership depends entirely on Arya, I continued. Global Dynamics has made full implementation of the system non-negotiable. Phoenix Industries controls the technology. Therefore, we control the terms. David flipped through the pages in front of him, growing paler with every line. These numbers, he muttered. The revenue, the clients. This is billions. Remember my ridiculous tech startup? I asked, my tone soft but cutting. Turns out, AI is quite profitable. In fact, far more profitable than traditional consulting. Angela Chin cleared her throat. Miss Mitchell, our team has reviewed Arya extensively. We're prepared to name Phoenix Industries the primary technology partner on this deal. I nodded. That would give us majority control over the integration strategy, execution, and technological roadmap. No, this is outrageous. My father barked, finally finding his voice again. You can't just walk in here and take over. I'm not taking over, I said calmly. I've already taken over. These terms reflect the current market reality. Mitchell and Sons needs this partnership to survive, but Global Dynamics needs Arya, which means they need me. David looked around the room, desperate. There has to be another way. A compromise. No compromise, Angela interjected. Our board insists on Arya. It's the only system agile and intelligent enough to handle a global integration of this scale. I turned my laptop so everyone could see the dashboard. Arya's interface pulsed with live data, forecasts, adaptive modeling, scenarios shifting in real time. It looked like something from the future, because it was. Dad stared at the screen, the lines on his face deepening. How did you do all this? He whispered, as if talking to a ghost. I told you I would build something revolutionary, I said quietly. You chose not to believe me. The room was still. The power dynamics had shifted so dramatically, I could almost feel the gravity bending in my favor. For the record, I added, this deal will make Phoenix Industries the controlling force in the partnership. Mitchell and Sons will become the secondary partner, operating under Arya's framework. All major decisions will now pass through me. Dad's hands curled into fists. You think you can humiliate us? No, I said. I think you did that all on your own. I'm just here to offer a solution, a future. Angela leaned back, thoroughly enjoying the show. Well, Miss Mitchell, if these terms are acceptable, I believe we have ourselves a deal. David shot to his feet. This is blackmail. This is business, I replied. Your outdated model is collapsing. This partnership is your lifeline. Without it, your stock drops, your clients walk, and your firm folds within 18 months. I let that sink in. Michael opened a second briefcase, sliding out a revised version of the contract. One page highlighted in red. Page 3 outlines the new governance structure. Phoenix Industries will retain 60% of all partnership revenue. You retain brand presence. For now. You think we'll just roll over? David growled. No, I said, but you'll sign. Because you have to. Silence. The empire my father had spent a lifetime building now sat on a precipice, and I was the only one holding a rope. The room felt like it had been drained of oxygen. My father stared down at the open contract in front of him, the red-marked clauses practically glowing off the page. His jaw clenched, but his hands trembled slightly, the first crack in his carefully maintained armor. David looked like he was about to burst a blood vessel. You expect us to hand over our company on a silver platter? He snapped. You want control, revenue, decision-making power. This is highway robbery. No, I replied coolly. This is the cost of being wrong. Angela Chin glanced at the clock, clearly amused by the family drama but also eager to keep the meeting on schedule. Perhaps we should take a short recess? Of course, I said politely. Michael, would you prepare the final financial reports for when we resume? As you wish, Miss Mitchell, he said, gathering documents with practiced ease. The global dynamics team filed out, followed by the other executives. I remained seated. So did my father. For a moment, we sat in silence. The same room where I once handed out coffee as a summer intern. The same conference table where I used to take notes for David during his early client meetings. Only now, I sat at the head of the table, and they sat in disbelief. How did you do this? Dad finally asked, his voice rougher than I'd ever heard it. How did you build all this? I told you I had something revolutionary, I said, softly. 3 years ago, you wouldn't listen. You wouldn't even look. He didn't answer. His eyes wandered to the Arya dashboard, still glowing softly on the main screen. You ignored the prototypes, the projections. You threw me out without even hearing me out. So, I built it anyway. I pulled up Arya's live data feed and let the numbers do the talking. Real-time simulations, market predictions, supply chain optimizations. He watched, silent, almost reverent. Do you know who tried to buy Phoenix last year? I asked. He shook his head. Google. 12 billion. I turned them down. His head snapped toward me. You turned down 12 billion? I nodded. Arya is worth far more. It's the future. And I wasn't ready to give it away to someone who didn't understand what it really is. He looked down at his hands. I was wrong. The words were stiff, almost painful. But he said them. Yes, you were. I replied. About AI. About me. About everything. I stood and walked to the window, looking down at the city skyline. My city now. Did you know? Your company has lost 30% of its market share in the past year? He didn't respond. Without this deal, Mitchell and Sons won't survive another 2 years, I said calmly. You've clung to an old model in a world that's already moved on. You didn't just fail me, Dad. You failed your own company. He leaned back in his chair, looking suddenly much older than I remembered. The man who once filled every room with authority now looked like someone desperately trying to hold on to a life raft in a rising tide. What do you want from me? He asked. I turned to face him. I want you to understand exactly what you threw away. Not just your daughter. You threw away innovation. You threw away leadership. You threw away the future. Before he could respond, the doors to the boardroom opened again. Michael stepped in. Miss Mitchell, your mother is here. I froze. My breath caught in my throat. I didn't invite her, I said after a pause. She asked to see you. She's been following Phoenix Industries closely. She said she just wanted a moment. I hesitated, then gave a small nod. Send her in. A few moments later she entered. My mother, still elegant, still composed, but somehow smaller. Then I remembered. Her pearl necklace was gone, replaced by a simple pendant. Her hair was slightly undone at the edges, and her eyes, they shimmered. Olivia, she said, her voice tentative. Hello, Mom. She stepped forward, wringing her hands the way she always did when she was nervous. I've been following your company for months. Secretly. I said nothing. I subscribed to tech newsletters under a different name. I created a fake email just to get Phoenix updates. I even watched a leaked product demo of Arya on a startup podcast. I raised an eyebrow. You could have called. I wanted to, she whispered. So many times, but I didn't know how. I didn't know if you'd even want to hear from me. I crossed my arms, trying to keep my voice even. You didn't stop him from throwing me out. She flinched. I know. I was wrong. I should have stood up for you. I should have said something. Anything. A long silence stretched between us. Then she looked up, her eyes wet. But seeing you here, what you've built, I've never been so proud in my life. I didn't know what to say. For a moment, I felt that young woman again, the one who had walked out of their house with nothing but a laptop and a dream. The one who would have done anything for even a sliver of this moment. Before I could respond, the doors burst open again. David stormed in, his face pale. He was gripping his tablet like it had personally betrayed him. The stock is falling, he said breathlessly. Someone leaked that the deal might be collapsing. We're down 15% in the last hour. I smiled faintly. Actually, that was me, he gasped. I released a statement saying Phoenix was considering alternate partnerships. A few carefully chosen words. It's amazing how markets respond to uncertainty. You're destroying us, he shouted. No, David, I said, walking back to the table. You are destroying yourselves. I'm giving you a lifeline. Michael handed out the final version of the contracts, this time with one key change. Though I've revised the terms, I said smoothly. Dad straightened. Revised how? I looked him in the eye. Mitchell and Sons will no longer be an equal partner. It will be absorbed into Phoenix Industries, fully and permanently. We'll rebrand the firm as Phoenix Consulting. You'll remain on as an advisor. Only. His face went still. And David, I added, turning to him, you'll head the legacy consulting division. You'll report directly to my executive team, not to me. This is blackmail. David snapped again. No, I said quietly. This is business. For weeks after the gala, Emma kept a calculated distance from the family. Madison had texted once, a flimsy attempt at reconciliation masked as an apology. Sorry if I came off harsh, Em. You know how weddings are. Emma didn't reply. She didn't need to. Her focus now shifted to securing the final stage of her plan, one that had been in motion long before Madison's wedding. 4 years ago, Emma had quietly begun acquiring shares in Whitmore Industries, her father's real estate and development firm. It had been bleeding innovation for years, clinging to legacy clients while the market surged forward with sustainable design and urban AI modeling. Emma had predicted it, the fall of traditional firms unwilling to adapt, while her father scoffed at tech gimmicks. Emma invested in green construction startups, modular housing automation, and smart infrastructure platforms. Through Eclipse Holdings, she'd become a silent partner in the very industries that were making her father's company obsolete. Now, Whitmore Industries was struggling. Investors were pulling out, debt ratios were rising, and Emma was ready. Her general counsel, Rena, handed her the final acquisition agreement on a rainy Thursday morning. All assets will transfer cleanly. The remaining board members have voted in favor, especially once they realized your offer meant survival. Emma signed, her pen gliding smoothly over the final page. Let's set the meeting. I want my father to hear it from me. The board meeting was scheduled for Monday morning at a m sharp. Emma arrived 10 minutes early, clad in a deep navy pantsuit, her hair sleek and pinned behind one ear. The receptionist looked puzzled. No one recognized her as part of the firm. Can I help you? The woman asked. Emma smiled. I'm expected. The new majority shareholder. The woman's eyes widened, but Emma had already walked past. Inside the walnut-paneled boardroom, the atmosphere was tense. Whitmore Industries' top brass sat rigidly, flipping through folders they barely understood. At the head of the table sat Robert Whitmore himself, Emma's father, brows furrowed, voice sharp. "I don't care who this Eclipse Holdings is," he barked to his CFO. "No one takes over my company without my say-so." "Funny," Emma said as she entered, her voice calm but loud enough to cut the tension. "That's exactly what someone who doesn't understand shareholder math would say." Robert turned slowly. For a long moment, he didn't speak. "Emma," she nodded. "Nice to see you, Dad. It's been enlightening watching from the outside." He stood, face flushed. "You can't be serious. This is some stunt." "It's not a stunt," she replied evenly. "Eclipse Holdings now owns 68% of your voting shares, which makes me the new chairwoman, effective immediately." A stunned silence filled the room. One board member cleared his throat awkwardly. "She's right. The numbers check out. We've reviewed everything." Robert's face contorted with rage. "You manipulated this." "No," Emma said softly. "I just believed in a future you refused to see, and I made sure I was part of building it." He sank into his seat, speechless. "I'm not here to ruin what you built," she continued. "I'm here to rescue it from the past." She turned to the room. "Effective today, we're pivoting. A full transition into sustainable development, AI-integrated smart cities, and modular builds. I'll be introducing new division heads, revising the executive structure, and closing unproductive legacy contracts. This company will evolve or it will dissolve." The room, once filled with resistance, was now subdued, some even nodding with reluctant respect. Emma's voice took on a final, resolute tone. "You wanted a legacy, Father. You can have it, but it won't be built on your terms anymore." Later that afternoon, Emma walked past the portrait wall that lined the Whitmore executive hallway, generations of stern-faced men in suits, culminating with her father. She stopped at the empty panel next to his. Her assistant caught up to her. "Would you like us to schedule a photo shoot?" Emma stared at the blank space and smiled. "Not yet. Let's give them time to adjust." Then quietly, she stepped into her new office, once her father's, now redesigned in her signature minimalist style. Pale birch desk, floor-to-ceiling glass, a single orchid in bloom. As she stood before the window overlooking the city, the weight of years lifted. They had laughed at her plain clothes, mocked her for not fitting in, uninvited her from the wedding for being too embarrassing. And now she owned everything. They once used to judge her, and she wasn't done yet. The invitation arrived 3 months later. A sleek rose gold envelope, thicker than necessary and adorned with embossed foil. Madison's name was scrawled in exaggerated cursive at the top, followed by the tagline, "A celebration of new beginnings." Inside it read, "Please join us for the grand opening of the Whitmore Sterling Residences, a partnership between Madison, Sterling, and Whitmore Industries. Black tie, champagne reception to follow." Emma chuckled. So Madison was using the Whitmore name now, proudly and publicly, though she'd once scoffed at their family's dusty old money. Clearly, she had no idea who actually controlled the company now. A note was paperclipped to the bottom. "Emma, I know things were tense before. I'd love for you to come. Let's finally celebrate as a family. Bring a +1 if you like. Love, Maddie." Emma considered tossing it, but something in her refused. Not out of bitterness, but for the sake of finality. Closure. So she arved yes. The venue was a rooftop ballroom overlooking the skyline, sleek, modern, dripping in luxury. A string quartet played as guests sipped cocktails under golden chandeliers. Emma arrived alone, dressed in a tailored white gown, simple but striking. She didn't need jewelry or loud statements. Her presence was the power. As she stepped into the room, a hush followed. Faces turned, some whispered, others gasped outright. "Is that Emma Whitmore? She looks incredible." Madison, standing near the stage in a rose-pink mermaid dress, blinked twice when she saw her. "Emma," she gushed, pulling her in for a hug, as if years of cruelty hadn't passed between them. "You came. I wasn't sure you would." "I wasn't either," Emma said calmly. "I'm so glad you did." Madison pulled back and lowered her voice. "Listen, I know things got messy with the wedding. I didn't handle it well." Emma raised an eyebrow. "You humiliated me, called me embarrassing, uninvited me in front of 300 people. Madison looked momentarily sheepish, then deflected with a breathy laugh. "But look at you now, gorgeous. And things are finally coming together for me too. This partnership with Whitmore Industries, total game changer. The chairman is supposedly some mysterious woman, but I haven't met her yet." Emma just smiled. You will. A few minutes later, the lights dimmed. Madison took the stage. Good evening, everyone, she beamed. Tonight marks the beginning of something spectacular. The Whitmore Sterling residences will redefine urban luxury, and I couldn't have done it without our incredible partner. She turned toward the edge of the stage, and now it's my honor to introduce the woman behind it all, the new chairwoman of Whitmore Industries, and a true visionary. She paused. Emma Whitmore. The audience burst into stunned applause. Madison's smile faltered as Emma gracefully ascended the stairs. She took the mic with steady hands. Thank you, Madison, she said smoothly, then turned to the crowd. Most of you know Whitmore Industries as a legacy real estate firm. What you may not know is that it's undergone a complete transformation over the past year. We've pivoted to future-focused development, smart housing, green architecture, inclusive urban planning. And yes, this luxury project is part of that evolution. She paused, her gaze sweeping over the room. But what makes tonight meaningful for me isn't just business. It's personal. A few months ago, I was told I wasn't good enough to be part of my own family's milestone, that I was too plain, too quiet, too off-brand. A ripple moved through the crowd, and yet, here we are, she continued, voice unwavering. I now lead the company that carries my name, not to prove anyone wrong but because I believed in something long before others did. She turned to Madison, locking eyes. Thank you for the invitation. It feels good to finally be welcomed. The room erupted in applause, louder, more genuine this time. Madison's expression had frozen in a strange cocktail of pride and panic. For once, she had nothing clever to say. Later that evening, as guests mingled, a well-known real estate journalist approached Emma. That speech was everything, the woman said. Any advice for young women out there? Emma nodded thoughtfully. Own your silence, she said. People underestimate quiet strength. They confuse kindness with weakness. Let them, because when the moment comes to speak, the world will have no choice but to listen. As the night wound down, Emma stepped out onto the rooftop balcony, overlooking the glittering city below. And no one would ever mistake her for a plane again. But more importantly, she'd never mistake herself for small. She was the woman behind the empire now, and she had only just begun.